we are live, back at it again. The Breakeven Brothers podcast, episode what? 33? What is it now?
33, live and
33.
locked in. Pretty sure it's 33.
Yeah,
And it's
nice.
already December. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. Had some turkey, had some, good old mashed potatoes, stuffing. Went up to sister's place, had some fun games there, ate some great food, and pretty chill. Honestly, didn't do much travel, so it was nice to relax and take a longer break. And work was definitely slow too, so it was nice to kind of check in with that. And then uh, another big announcement is the Android app is out now for Split My Expenses, but we'll get to that later. How was your Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it was good. We did like a Friendsgiving with some friends that live out like in the Atlanta, Georgia area, like 30 minutes outside of Atlanta. So that was cool. I'd been to Georgia once before, but it was like for a work trip, which means you just stay in the hotel and don't really go anywhere cool. So this was cool to actually experience Georgia. And our friends were nice enough to have us, stay with them the whole time, which was great. It was cool. I mean, I'm definitely not a East Coast person. I think I was realizing that after being there, because your mind always wonders. Like you and I are both from the West Coast and have really never really left. I'm in Arizona now, but that's like the furthest that we've really gone. So I don't know about you, but I always kind of wonder. I'm like, oh, I want to be if it'd be cool to live on in New York or in Florida. Or
It would
like
be
that.
cool. It would be very cool, actually, but only I don't think live. I think visit. I visited a lot of those places, and I think Georgia was nice. They had a pretty famous aquarium, right?
Yeah, I think so. We didn't do that. But yeah, it's really pretty, and it was cold, which was kind of nice because it was never really that cold out here in Arizona. So yeah, it was a great time. Ate lots of food, watched some football. But yeah, it was afterwards I was ready to be home, back to my desert,
Nice.
And
Did you pick up anything for Black Friday?
no, I don't think so because we flew back Friday. And so I wasn't really sat on my computer or on my phone looking at stuff. I was in the airport on the plane. So no, I wasn't really looking for any deals. I did go to Home Depot and Lowe's yesterday, I think. No, Sunday evening. But there was no deals. It was just
I'm surprised there's no
run.
deals because I went shopping at the outlets in Livermore. I think it was Saturday or Sunday, and I thought the deals are pretty good. I picked up this new shirt. I
Nice.
like it. I think it was like 50 or 60% off, and was always looking to expand, but never. I kind of go in waves when I shop. Like for clothing, I don't buy anything for like a year, and then I'll just go and buy like 3 or 4 new shirts or 2 or 3 new pants, and that's like it for the year. And I actually was very successful shopping in the post Black Friday, but still had the sale because I was worried that there wouldn't be a lot of inventory in stock for my sizes, but yeah, it seemed totally fine. So I picked up a few new pieces, which was really nice because it's so hard to close shop. Like that is one day when they come out with AI Try-Ons, which I think they already kind of do, but I've never done them yet. Like I would love to sit at home and swipe and be like, does that look good? Like, does that feel good? Because half it's fit, color. It always looks good on the model. Then you try it on. It's like, So I would love a day where I could have that be better because you're spending hours and hours in these stores trying things on. It's fun, but it gets kind of exhausting.
You have that much trouble finding clothes that fit you?
Maybe not fit, but I think I only buy it if I'm like, oh, I really, really like that. And I think that part, I don't find a lot. I think when I look at things on the rack, I'm like, I don't know if that would really be good. So I have to try it on, of course. But yeah, I wish I had a better intuition for that is a good clothing item.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I don't know how we got to clothing, but let's you mentioned something that was really cool that you had released recently, and that is the iPhone Android app for SME.
So much effort. Honestly, iOS app was out middle of November. So right now we're recording on December 2nd, which honestly is insane. Time is flying. But iOS came out middle of November. Android came out less than a week ago, so end of November. And for viewers who are looking at the podcast or watching on YouTube, try to show it on my iPhone, but you can see there's two Split My Expenses icons. The production one is this one, and I don't really have any data since it's a test account. It's probably hard to see anyways, but there it is, new expense page. You can type in your description, your amount. This is all Android. This is a testing device actually picked up from Back Market, which sells kind of secondhand devices. And yeah, long story short for Android is, damn, it was confusing. Using the Google Play Store to get my app uploaded and approved and released took way too long. Like I don't even know how to
Really?
describe the pain and troubles that I went through of trying to understand Google's interface. So if you use Google Cloud or GCP or
Hmm.
AWS, you know how confusing these kind of conglomerate softwares are. When I use the Apple App Store software for iOS, I do think it's confusing, but I've been in that domain before, so I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Take me to Android, and I'm expecting this similar iOS setup. It's completely different. It sits in the realm of just like bloated software, and it took me many days to figure out how to do things that should have taken me maybe 10 minutes.
Hmm.
So the app is out there now. I sent an email to all the SplitMyExpenses.com registered users, said, hey, go download the mobile apps. I put out a Cyber Monday sale. So if you're listening to this for this week and potentially a little bit longer into next week due to marketing delays, probably going to do a Cyber Monday sale for, I think, 29% off the yearly plan. So a lot of things are in the works and have come out, and super proud of it. But yeah, I wrote an extensive blog post on my blog. So if you go to bradleybernard.com, click on the blog section at the top. The latest blog post you'll see is about the journey to shipping on iOS and Android. And I
Hmm.
go into a ton of detail on the pain and suffering and kind of the journey of me moving from web app to mobile app, which a lot of people have asked me, like, hey, why'd you even take that approach? What
Hmm.
influenced you to actually make the mobile app after so many months of just having a web app? So I won't go into it too much here, but it's in the blog post. I kind of talked my computer for 20 minutes, and this is the result of it. Add a bunch of screenshots, fluffed it up. And so I'm pretty proud of that blog post. But yeah, if you're an Android user and you hate Splitwise or you're looking for something new, I'm here for you. And splitmyexpenses.com/iOS
Hmm.
or splitmyexpenses.com/Android. That'll take you directly to the App Store. And I literally added that redirect 10 minutes ago. So I was really proud of that one.
Nice, nice. I'll be curious to see like what the relative like downloads are per platform. Like what's Android? How many people are Android? How many people are iPhone? I feel like iPhone is losing its its grip on the market a little bit in the last couple of years. I don't know if that's
That's a
just
hot
an
take.
anecdote. That's how I do. I've thought about switching, but I don't want the green text bubbles, you know. But if it wasn't for that,
Yeah,
I'd
I
be
can
more
tell
into it.
you. So far, the app was released on November 13th for iOS and has
Hmm.
averaged probably 20 downloads a day. But I've had peak days where I think the first day was 45, and then
Hmm.
the day I sent an email out was 126. So
Okay.
roughly 600 installs from the middle of November to December. I think my entire user base is sitting around 19,000 registered users. But
Hmm.
the one unfortunate part, which kind of sucked, is I sent out this email describing the mobile apps are out. Dark mode is here, which is a big release on web. And then the
Hmm.
Cyber Monday deal. But it actually went to spam, which was super frustrating.
Oh,
So
that stinks.
I
Yeah.
sent it out. I reached out to people. They said, "Hey, I didn't get anything." And I checked Postmark, the app that I use for sending emails, and I had a registered Google account for my own service. And I checked my Gmail inbox and it went to junk. And I was like, "Damn!" Like, I'd spent so much time working on everything behind the scenes. I thought, "Oh, my
Yeah.
emails will be fine." I don't really know why. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
audit that this week or next and see if I'm missing some security DNS settings for email. But
Hmm.
clearly, telling people about it will increase downloads, which is not a novel fact, but that's something I'm going to do a lot more of December is talk about the app, try to get it out there, do marketing, SEO, Twitter, you name it.
Yeah.
But they're out there now, and about 500 or 600 for iOS. For Android, since it's so new, I'm not even
Yeah.
sure if it gives me any numbers, but my guess is much lower. I think I have a lot less users. I'm pulled up the Play Store. It looks like 120 installs since
That's pretty good.
November 28th, I think is, or 29th. So yeah, not many
Okay.
days.
Yeah. Right.
Again, a lot of work to do to get that higher, but we're making progress. It's new.
Yeah. Yeah. It's your first, and it's your first Android app, right?
It
Like
is.
you
Yeah,
built
that's a
you
big
built other iPhone
accomplishment.
apps, so yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I totally can relate to the Google Cloud platform being confusing as all can be because for
Hmm.
a while I was using the Google ADK. We've talked about that a little bit on the pod. And of course they want you to like host things on Google Cloud. And it's like I've gone down like that path, like try it out, and it's just like way over my head. There's
Yeah.
just too many
If you know how to use
options.
it,
Yeah.
it's easy. If you're a newcomer, which everyone is at one point, it's really
Hmm.
overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah. It's too much. Well, congrats on the release.
Thank you.
Split My Expenses. You can find it everywhere now, not just on the web, but
Exactly.
iPhone and Android. And there's a free plan too. Like there's the competitor that
There
doesn't have the free
is.
plan. So if you need a free plan just to dip your toes in, Split My
There
Expenses has
is.
got you. Don't pay attention to the other one. We won't say what it is, but yeah, no, we got to talk your stuff. You got to talk your stuff
Yeah,
on
yeah,
here.
no, I appreciate it. But outside of that, there has been so much to catch up on the AI world. I feel like me and Ben have been
Hmm.
talking to each other like, oh my gosh, this, that, and the other. And I think last time we talked in the pod, it was expectations for Gemini 3.
Hmm.
Literally 2 days after the podcast was posted, Gemini 3 was released, and this is Gemini 3 Pro. So there's no Gemini 3 Flash or Gemini 3 Flashlight, which are kind of the cheaper, more cost-effective models. But they came out with the big one first, which I think they do that normally. Then they distill it and make it smaller. And they
Hmm.
also came out with Nano Banana Pro, which is their pretty incredible image model. So if you take a look at the leaderboards for LM Arena, I believe Gemini 3 Pro is number one on text, number one on vision, number one on text to image, and number two on web dev. So I think the big categories are text, general chatting with your AI chat assistant, two, vision, so how does it understand images, OCR, etc., and web dev, can it write code for you that's production ready? And it taking first place out of two out of the three, potentially even three out of the four if we talk about text to image.
Hmm.
Really impressive stuff. There was a lot of hype around this release. People kept saying it changed the game. I think it delivered. I think it did a really good job. The price is pretty fair. They've had pretty good capacity to serve the model. I think it even was out for free for about a week through Cursor, and people picked it up. So, yeah, any reactions from you on Google's latest release?
Yeah, I mean, it was funny that it came out right after we were talking about it because I think I texted you like emergency pod sesh, half joking, but yeah, I mean, it's been pretty phenomenal. I'm trying to think of some use cases that I've used it for, um, where I had to really kind of push it. Like had some tax questions I was working through with someone, um, and it wasn't, I don't when I use the thing about accounting, I don't like to use AI to like give me the answer, but it's really good at like finding like the general chapters of like the guidance that is relevant to what you're talking about, or it can be really good for like looking up court cases where like there's precedent, like if it's like an IRS court case and the taxpayer is trying to do something, a lot of times the tax courts will rely on like a precedent, so you can kind of go look at the court cases and understand the conclusion from that court case, and kind of that tells you what the position will be if you try to do something similar. So like I like it from that standpoint, and it was really good. I had to do a deep research on one of those issues. I think for coding, I used it a little bit, but really basic. I wasn't doing anything crazy. I think I was
Hmm.
just making some changes. Oh, that's right. I was making some changes to my website for my business, and it was great because I think the couple weeks before I was using um, GPT 5.1 or whatever, to get my website, looking the way it was. But then when I was doing some rebranding and some kind of changing some things around, I was actually doing this over the Thanksgiving break a little bit, and I was using Gemini Pro 3 or whatever, Gemini 3 Pro, and it was really good. Like it definitely. I noticed it took a little bit longer on some things and did a little bit more of the thinking. I had like the thinking mode enabled, but it was really robust. Like one of the examples, and this is like not a technical flex at all, but like I had like a pricing page, and a lot of times like with accounting, you have like packages, right? Like okay, this is my like mid tier package, and this is the
Hmm.
services you get. This is my premium tier package, right? And I told him like, hey, like these are the services I offer. This is the pricing. Um, like, can you put this into on my website? Like, can you just put it on the pricing page or whatever? And I thought in my head it would just go and like just put those pricing and those services like just in the static HTML, but it did a whole like different like fast API route that had like the packages in like a JSON format. And then
Huh.
that was like so it kind of like, I don't say overcomplicated it, but like it did it in a way that I'm sure is better from a technical perspective. But I was like, oh, okay, I didn't tell you to do that. I thought you were just going to put it in like static HTML. But yeah, I was impressed with it. And I did see all the stats too. Like when it first came out, people were like, over the moon about it.
Yeah, I
It
think
was pretty, yeah, pretty impressive.
talking about the stats, I think they were top of nearly everything that was relevant, but I think there is an agentic coding benchmark that they weren't top of the list for. And I think that one was highlighted at like, is that a relevant benchmark? Should we be focusing on that being the sole kind of, is this model quality? Because I don't know about you, but I think Gemini 3 Pro really showcased good design skill. I think the iteration of 2.5 to 3 creates a really, really good UI. And that means a lot for a lot of people, especially the vibe coders out there who want to create something but don't have that design skill. And I think a lot of people have the idea, but they don't know how to write the code and they definitely don't know how to design it. So I think Gemini 3 Pro did a good job crafting more design skills and baking that into the model. So yeah, pretty impressive scorecard that they had for topping a lot of the benchmarks, even though they weren't top of the benchmark for like agentic coding, so to speak. I think it's called SweBench. They were very, very close to it at the time. And then a bunch of new models came out. But before we move on from Google's exciting day, they also had Nano Banana Pro, which I actually used. I won't describe which thumbnail, but there might be a thumbnail out there that might have used it. And if you can put those pieces together, you might find it. But my experience in Nano Banana Pro was I was trying to get this thumbnail. I imported said previous thumbnails and asked it to make a new one. Uh, as it generated the first image from my prompt, it looked really good. Then I asked it, hey, can you change this facial expression to do this? The second time it generated the second image, it looked different. The faces that came out were definitely different. It didn't look like the people that were originally there. And so I had to reset my chat and go back to the original chat where I just uploaded the sample thumbnails and then have my prompt be more directed and kind of include that second message that I sent in the initial prompt. So I think it was pretty damn good, pretty fast, and pretty like I feel like it would unlock a lot of marketing things. Like if you're working with
Mhm.
images and you need to create mockups or different product placements, it seems like Nano Banana Pro would be there to kind of handle the 95% use cases that probably pop up. So my experience was cheap, fast, had a little bit of a bump due to it losing faces, but it was easy to fix, so not a big deal.
Yeah. No, I think Nano Banana Pro is, I think that's the technical name for it, right?
I think
Um,
so.
yeah, was is probably like the most exciting thing that they've released recently, in my opinion. Like Gemini 3 is obviously super impressive, but like it's, a step forward in model intelligence, but like there wasn't anything that was like novel that it could do that the last version couldn't. It just seems like it could do those things better. But Nano Banana Pro, it's funny. When I was in Atlanta for Thanksgiving, they were talking about like, AI and like using Chat GPT to like do photos, like to make, text to image, right? But everyone's like, oh, well, you can tell those are so fake. Like, they're still, they're getting better, but it's easy to tell and spot a fake. But the people that I was talking to hadn't used Nano Banana yet and hadn't seen it. And so I said, it's much more difficult than you think now with this model. And so we did like a little game of like, is it AI or not? And it was pretty like, there were some that really got fooled by it because, in my opinion, like the realism is just night and day compared to like their main competitor in this area, which is ChatGPT. Um, and yeah, like it can make things look super realistic. People are super good at like the prompting and stuff like that.
That's a great
Um,
idea when you mention that. We should create AI or not, or like image
yeah,
AI or not.com and just see what real people vote on. Cause I think it'd be
yeah,
funny and just like burn like $500 of Nano Banana credits to create these kind of left and right images. And
yeah.
that would be a good test. I think it has gotten sadly so realistic. The good news
Hmm.
is that Google did come out with I was just looking it up, Synth ID. So this is a watermark that Google puts inside the image such that they can tell if this image was AI generated. So Synth ID, digital watermark, pretty cool software. I think it's going to be very useful in the future when you have images uploaded to various platforms if they can determine if it's AI generated or not. But at the end of the
Hmm.
day, a lot of the times it's a human looking at it. And I could tell you, I've been fooled many a times by all these pretty
Yeah,
robust image generation models, and even the video ones. Honestly, are getting to a point where I'm
yeah.
like, I'm not really like this. I'm so confused. Like, I'm not even sure what to think.
Yeah, and then on the other thing I've noticed with Nano Banana Pro, because you're talking about marketing. It's actually going to be a foreshadow into my bookmark. But what I've noticed, and what other people have noticed too, that I've seen online, is that it's way better with text. Like you can create like brochures and like a fake food menu, for example, if you have like a restaurant business. And like, before, chat would always kind of get like the text, you could tell like it just looked like alien language almost. Um, but now it's gotten really good at like keeping the actual text intact and have it make sense. And so I've seen people say that they can use it in, I haven't done this myself, but like you can use it in, marketing materials, or, if you're going to make like flyers and brochures, you can now keep the nice design like AI has been good at. Like it's always been pretty, or not always, but like recently it's been pretty good at like making nice brochures and pamphlets and all that kind of stuff. But like the text was always a problem. But now it's like, okay, the text
Yeah.
is there. We have the design. Like we can actually use this in like a marketing workflow kind of thing.
Yeah, the alien text is such a tell. If you've worked with any AI
Hmm.
image generation, it's just not even the right words, just some weird slanted font. And I didn't do any text. Well, I guess I did a little bit, but it was pretty straightforward. I didn't give it anything complicated. But I did see a bunch of examples on Twitter describing kind of the brochure style of pretty complicated rendering for text and it pulling it
Hmm.
off in a pretty legible way. So hats off to Google for that one. I think that's one of the big unlocks of an AI image model is making sure the input, for example, faces is preserved, and then making text actually usable and legible. Having both of those at a cost efficient price, that's a
Hmm.
really compelling argument. I wish I did more with marketing. Maybe I will with my apps, but I think it's a good time for developers too, because you can create a mock-up of what you think you want it to look like using Nano Banana, then send that to Claude. Then you're off to the races. So very,
Hmm.
very impressive from Google.
Yeah. Yep. They keep chefing, they keep cooking. What else came out recently that we should chat about?
Yeah, Codex Max. So we won't go in this one too much detail, but I'll give a high level summary for those interested. GPT 5.1 came out. With that, they had this kind of flexible thinking budget. We talked about GPT 5.1 low, GPT 5.1 medium, and GPT 5.1 high. So this is kind of the prescribed thinking budget to make good responses. Based on that, they created GPT 5.1 Max. What is officially called is Codex Max. And the reason it's called Codex Max is Codex is their CLI tool. This is their agentic tool to write and run code, interact with your computer, so to speak, similar to Claude Code. And that max at the end of the model name is like the maximum thinking budget optimized for an agentic harness. So what that means is it's built for long running tasks, um, uses the context window much more effectively through compaction, and is able to just run hopefully without any interruption. So the GPT 5.1 Codex Max release came, I think, 1 or 2 days after Gemini's release, which I think I even called that on our previous podcast is Google's going to ship, OpenAI is going to ship the day
Hmm.
after. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what happened. I think the 5.1 Codex Max is a great model. It's not the top of the leaderboard, but if I go take a look, it looks like it's maybe 5 or 6 on text, and on web dev, it's like 5 or 6. So it's not top 3, which is held by Anthropic and Google, but it's still really good. I think for the most part, depends on the type of problem you throw at it. But this model is just an upgraded kind of agentic model that's used in Codex mostly.
Hmm.
So it's trained on PRs, code review, front end coding. So very coding specific model that excels in their Codex CLI. That's the release. Nothing crazy, I would say. I think it does a good job within Codex, but when you look at something like Cursor, which can use any model, it doesn't win
Hmm.
out in the leaderboard. And that kind of shows you the raw model intelligence. Either you go for something really fast, like we talked about Composer 1, or you go for the top of the line intelligence. So that whole middle ground between you're not fast and you're not smart, that part is the graveyard. And I think Codex exists on the very smart side because they're top 5, but anything below that, yeah, pretty tough to get developers and just everyday users to use your model.
Hmm. Cool.
And then we have Opus 4.5, and my goodness, incredible release. Hands down, I think Anthropic's biggest model ship in quite some time. So the story was 4.5 Sonnet came out maybe a month ago. Before that, they had Opus 4.0. And so the long history of Claude Code was that Opus 4.0 was so good, but people were just abusing Claude Code, so they added rate limits. That means you couldn't really use Opus that much. Then they came out with Sonnet 4.5. It was what I'd put as really fast and really smart, but not the ultimate intelligence. So I personally thought that Opus 4.0 was better than Sonnet 4.5. And by the numbering, you could think that, but when I'm using it in coding, building my mobile app specifically, I felt like it wasn't there. Then, 2 weeks ago, my Claude Code is coming up for renewal. I think, oh, damn, Gemini 3 is out. Codex Max is out. Should I be switching to Anthropic or Google? But as Anthropic always delivers, we came out with Opus 4.5. And the first day I used it, I thought, holy shit, this is really good. And I've been singing Anthropic's praises since end of May when I first touched Claude Code. I truly think that this model is the end all be all in terms of coding within Claude Code. So only use Opus 4.5. I'm not touching Gemini 3 anymore because I already pay $200 a month for Anthropic. And I was this close to canceling and going on the Codex train. But this release, I think, was perfectly timed and delivered just the right amount of increase in intelligence and capabilities that I thought was extremely worth it and produce high quality code. And I could talk about Opus for a long time, but I think one of the major examples, kind of like how you described Gemini refactoring your code, is I'd ask Opus to do a similar thing where I said, hey, could you please implement this feature on React Native that I want to add? And as it implemented the feature, it said, hey, I also noticed like all this unused code in this file. I'm going to implement the feature, go clean up this file and refactor it all at the same time. And I thought, I didn't really ask you that, but if you're so good at coding, you would recognize these things. Like if you're an engineer and you're working in a file, you're modifying that file. Maybe you're not modifying the entire file, but you'll take a look and you'll say, hey, is there anything else I can do while I'm in this area? And Opus, I know it's a small example, but it really delivers the kind of change in which I see in the model, where Claude Code with Opus is just this incredible value beast where it delivers really high quality code pretty darn fast. And the $200 a month package is basically unlimited. So I used Opus extensively to get my iOS app kind of refactored and polished up and ready to go. And same for Android. It's the same code base. So I used it a ton to crack hard problems, and even problems that Sonnet 4.5 could not fix, Opus did fix. So yeah, again, I could talk all day about it, but if you're listening, there's one takeaway at least from this episode is if you're on Claude Code, use Opus 4.5. The sad part is they have changed their pricing model, and Opus 4.5 is only, I believe, on the $200 a month plan. So they know it's good. They've made it paywalled. And honestly, it probably works out for people who are paying because then they're not killing the limits like they were previously. So yeah, if you want to give it a run, it has my full blessing. Opus 4.5 is a stellar model, and to me stands out across all three of these that we just talked about.
Yeah, it seems like they got a good. I haven't used. I think I've said over and over by now. I'm not a Anthropic person, but I did see a lot of the discourse on Twitter or on X saying that Opus was good. Like it was pretty solid. I mean, it seems like they really have their footing in the premium coding model. You know,
They
like
do.
above all else. Yeah, that's their niche. So good for them.
Yeah, maybe Ben's Christmas present is a Claude Code Max.
Don't waste your money,
subscription.
dude. Don't waste your money. It just is not for me. I mean,
we need to convert him.
no, it's. I had the $20 a month plan. I never used it. Claude Code. I think at the time, I don't know if it's still the case, but that wasn't supported on Windows. And they wanted me to do the like Windows subsystem for Linux thing, and I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, miss me with that.
It's worth it.
No, it's for my website, like for my stuff is not. But I can, if it really, if you have some complex application that you're building,
Yeah,
more power to you. But and I think that just goes to again like their customer base is gonna be those like really die hard like hardcore programmers, whereas like your mom or your sister is going to be using ChatGPT for like their more day-to-day stuff, or like Gemini for the more day-to-day stuff. Maybe that's just where the camps divide. So So they have, they
Yeah.
have you developers paying lots of money for all that stuff.
I think they truly have a niche in that area. And the last sentence I'll say, or last topic about Opus 4.5 is oftentimes there's been a lot of discourse on these graphs that show up when they release these new models. And the latest one that came out from Opus 4.5 is there's a SWE bench verified, which is just a benchmark for coding models. And Sonnet 4.5 gets 77.2% on the graph, and Opus 4.5 gets 80.9%. So roughly a 4% difference. Not a huge difference, but when we when we plot these graphs and create these charts, it looks like a massive difference in the chart because everything is so close. Like Ben has talked about this multiple times, saying in the podcast, like when is too much, or when do we get to a point where coding is good enough that I don't need to think about some of these things? And based on these graphs, we're increasing on these benchmarks, which are never perfect, but increasing on the benchmark by 4%. But what that actually translates to is a lot more than that. Like the vibes are right on Opus 4.5. The score on the SWE bench verified for software engineering is only 4%, but that feels like a lot. And again, it could be partly vibes, could be partly benchmarking. Anthropic has a really strong position on developers and, coding agents, but I think it just goes to show that between these percentage increases, there's a lot more to it. And I don't love showing these graphs where Opus 4.5 is 80.9% and something like Gemini 3 Pro is 76%. So even worse than Sonnet 4.5, but people were loving Gemini 3 Pro better than Sonnet 4.5, so to speak. So there's a lot more that goes into it, but I think we get to that point where it's hard to tell if the model is good. That's why I use it. When I started using Opus 4.5, from the first 3 hours I used it, I knew, okay, this is it. Same thing that happened with Claude Code when it first came out. When I was using the original Opus model, I thought, damn, this is good. And like, it knows exactly what I want to do. No more, no less, and does a great job. And that's how I felt with Opus 4.5. So yeah, pretty interesting that we're getting to the point of very small gains on benchmarks, but actually equating to a lot in terms of model performance and overall vibes. So we'll have to see when Anthropic comes out with, Opus 5.0, Sonnet 5.0, but I imagine they do a pretty good job. And if there's anything about Anthropic, they ship a very linear performance increase. There's been many graphs. I think we've talked about on the pod too. Anthropic steady ships and just follows a straight line curve of model performance. So hopefully they ship Sonnet 5.0 before the end of the year, and maybe it'll make Claude Code even better.
Yeah, I wonder if their focus, and I don't know this, like, to be clear, I could be talking out of my rear end, but like they don't have a text to image model, right? They don't have
I don't think so.
the video. They're not as multimodal as like chat and as Gemini are. So maybe that's like part of their advantage too, is like when they release, they're just focused on, their special area. Like they're not worried about having an image model and a video model and, a browser tool and XYZ, right? Like they're just kind of like, this is what we're doing. We got Cloud Code, we're working on the model. Like this is for engineers, like I think that focus, sometimes it's better to have a few things that you're focused on rather than 20 different things that you can't really go tackle and execute all at once. So maybe that's, what has
I've never thought
them
about
to be
that.
so successful. Yeah.
But yeah, that totally makes sense. And they released a work report. So I think this was actually today. So it's December 2nd. Their title is How AI is Transforming Work at Anthropic. So just one caveat that they surveyed Anthropic people, and the TLDR is that Claude Code is extremely powerful in reducing things, headaches, burdens. I'll just read maybe 3 headlines from the key findings sections in the report that I agree with. So employees self-report using Claude in 60% of their work, achieving a 50% productivity boost, which is a 2 to 3x increase from this same time last year. And so they say this productivity looks slightly less time per category, but considerably more output volume. So we're doing more with the same amount of hours that we have, is how I read that. 2, 27% of Claude-assisted work consists of tasks that wouldn't have been done otherwise. So I feel this all the time when I'm working in my code base and I think, I don't want to refactor that, but Claude can, and I will. So I feel strongly about that. It makes things better overall. And again, we talked about Claude being a code model beast. and this is exactly as it's being reported. And then 3, I think most people can delegate their work. So they say most employees use Claude frequently while reporting. They can fully delegate 0 to 20% of their work. So they've done a good job at making sure that Claude is good at collaborating with you, but also you can give the reins to Claude and understand that it knows you and understands your intent and does what you expect. So pretty impressive. But it is Anthropic talking about their own software, interviewing their own engineers. So with that comes, I'm sure, a lot of bias, but I feel strongly about Claude Code doing well in the software world, and reading some of these headlines and stats, it does line up with how I feel personally.
Yeah, I think, and to be fair, they I think somewhere in the article they talk about some like the negative things that engineers or the survey responses like kind of highlight, that not to just paint like only a rosy picture. Like they talk about how they talk to their coworkers less because they just go to Claude for the a
Hmm.
question or two. That it changes the career trajectory a little bit. Like in the short term, it's great. Like in the long term, like what does it mean? So like as much as it is obviously a biased piece, like they do balance it a little bit with some things that are maybe contra to like the AI hype train. But yeah, of course it's still very much pro AI. The thing I was thinking about too was so they put this out, and I think a couple months ago we talked about an article from MIT, I think is what it was,
Oh
that talked
yeah.
about how organizations weren't finding any use out of AI. And of course, you would think and expect that like an AI company would have better success at implementing AI at their company. Just of course, but it still to me, there's still a big gap. Like when I talk to people too, just anecdotally, like in the accounting community, a lot of people aren't using AI for like meaningful delegation of work. Like, yeah, it can help
Hmm.
you craft up an email, or kind of again, like I did, like you kind of chat through and try and get some guidance for something. But it's as far as like doing meaningful work, it's just the infrastructure is hard to put into place. There's probably a technical level that's still too high for people to kind of do on their own. um but so there's still that gap. But yeah, I mean, if Anthropic is seeing success with their employees and using it, that's great. And um I'm
I'm
sure
glad
it's a
you called out
similar.
the I
Yeah.
was gonna say, I'm glad you called it the negative part, because as I was looking at the article or the survey more that they'd released, one part does come out about the reduced social
Hmm.
interactions, where
Yeah.
there's a quote in the article saying, I actually don't love that the common response is, have you asked Claude? I really enjoy working with people in person and highly value that. So it kind of almost feels like, have you Googled that? The common phrase
Hmm.
has popped up where, hey, Ben, do you know how this works? And it's like, hey, have you Googled that? I mean, maybe it's now, have you asked Chat? Have you asked Claude? Like that's what it's getting at when these tools are so good and, better
Yeah.
than the average person, or just have the tools and know how to get things done effectively. So definitely
Hmm.
a little bit of a negative, and I think software is changing, which is where Anthropic is focused on. Not all of it is positive. Clearly, that's a negative, and people like working with people for the most part. And seeing something like that be the default answer, don't talk to me anymore. Talk to Claude. Not
Yeah,
not not the best, for sure.
for sure. Yeah. um Brad, should we hit the other two items that we want to talk about with Anthropic real fast, like as like a speed round? Because I want to make sure that we're good on
Yeah.
like our time. Okay, so let's do this one. So today, as of recording on December 2nd, Anthropic acquired Bun, which I don't know that much about Bun. I think it's a JavaScript runtime environment. Is it like Babel? Is it like Webpack? One of those things?
Yeah, you're pushing my technical abilities here, but I'll try my best. It is a JavaScript runtime. It's similar to Node.js, but faster. I think that's the best way I
Okay.
can put it, where you can run JavaScript where Node would run, but it runs a hell of a lot faster. It's also not only a runtime, but a bundler too. So there's a lot of complex terms in the JavaScript land, which I know you love, but
Hmm.
it's basically like an all-in-one ecosystem. So it can run JavaScript code, it can do bundling. So when you think of like npm install, you can do bun install. If you've used Vite, Vite, like the dev server, there's a bun dev server. So essentially anything you can do in the JavaScript land, like toolchain, dependencies, running code, bun can do it all. And it's really performant. So there's a famous graph that talks about the performance of different languages. Bun is up there with Go. Go is a compiled language, so Bun is very, very efficient. And yeah, that's my segue of technical bits. I'll hand it off to you.
Cool. Yeah, no, I mean, I was curious. I don't know, like I'm sure there's a reason for it. Like they're not, they know what they're doing, but it was a surprising move because I hadn't, like, why would an AI company want to acquire
Mhm.
a JavaScript runtime company? I'm just
Dot, dot,
confused on
dot.
that. Yeah, I don't know like what the reason is, but
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, I think there's a lot of discourse on Twitter talking about why would they do that. So there wasn't
yeah.
even a good agreement there. But my thoughts are, as you mentioned, Claude and Anthropic are just going after developers. Bun is a faster way to do things as a JavaScript developer. JavaScript and TypeScript are the number one languages used across all software systems. So to get the best bang for their buck is hire these very, very talented, smart engineers that work on Bun, get them to work on Bun and Claude Code and just make them do things better and faster. So I don't know
Hmm.
on the exact angle, but they're collecting the right kind of developer experience folks, which I would consider Bun a part of that. So hopefully they build some cool stuff, make Bun faster. Who knows? I'm excited to see what they do with those folks.
Yeah, the top comment on the post on the Claude AI Reddit was, "Why couldn't they code a better one with Claude?" You know, like, which is like a fair question.
That's good. I haven't seen that.
Mhm. Yeah. So, but anyways, we'll move on for the sake of time. The other big news, or maybe rumor, or what do you want to call it, is Anthropic might be preparing for something. What do you think on
Yeah,
that?
an IPO for 2026. So I had seen
Okay,
articles about OpenAI prepping a 1 trillion IPO for 2027.
it's not happening.
I don't know. I have no comments, no idea about how that whole process works, but 1 trillion is a lot of dollars and 2027 is not that far away. So I was surprised here Anthropic is planning to do less of an evaluation. I think there was targeted at 500 B for 2026. So definitely speculative rumor mill, et cetera. But I don't know. I think all this AI money gets shifted from chip maker to software company back to chip maker to,
Hmm.
the clouds of the world. So I don't really know who has the value and who's here to stay. Anthropic has my money and I probably will for some time for Claude Code. But yeah, it's tough. I don't know the long term hold on these things. They change so fast. Every week there's a new model. So I think good for
Yeah.
Anthropic for preparing for this. If there's anything I know about software company IPOs, they never are on time. So if I hear 2026, I'm thinking 2028. If I hear 2027, same thing. Probably 2029 is my guess.
Yeah, the in the article, they also mentioned that Cloud Code, 6 months after becoming available to the public, has reached $1 billion in run rate revenue, which I'm assuming
Very
is an
impressive.
ARR number, the way that they're talking about it. Um, so yeah, that is impressive, for sure. It's a lot of money in these, and but super competitive and expensive for the right talent, right, and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So
I mean, it's one of those subscriptions I pay for, and I only feel bad about it if a new model comes out that's not any Anthropic family, and I'm like, oh
mhm,
no. But then Anthropic comes within the next, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and delivers. So there have
yeah.
been times where I've considered, but as I look back on it, I never falter.
Hmm. Yeah. Cool. Well, we'll see. Okay, last item should we hit is what is going on with a code red. Code red generally means something bad's going on. What's going on with code red and who's it about?
Yeah, so OpenAI declared a code red, I think yesterday, December 1st, and this was after Gemini 3 came out. So I think Google came out with Gemini 3 Pro. They also, I think, gave maybe a free quota in their Gemini app, which is their kind of AI chat app. And I think in the article they had mentioned that ChatGPT was losing 6 or 7% of their like monthly active users ever since Gemini 3 came out. So as we've talked about the AI flywheel of, getting people on board with chat apps, having them talk to you, getting their data, building this whole, data repository on people, Google already owns that in search, but now people are moving
Hmm.
to AI. If Google has search and they have AI, they've cracked it. They have everyone's data. We're in for a tough future. But I think OpenAI is planning to do a lot of different things. We have Sora, we have ads, we have you name it. They're kind of working on it. And I think declaring code red to me is Sam saying, we have a lot of stuff going on. We have a lot more competition than we expected. Let's go back to our roots and kind of polish up ChatGPT, make sure it's the best in class chat experience because that's the majority of their money is this, chat GPT revenue that's expected to grow over time to make that valuable. There's the API side where they serve, GPT-5 models, but you could think that doing too much can spread you thin. And maybe, just maybe, with competition and doing too many things, Code Red can realign them to kind of ship what they've been shipping, their core products, and improve those and retain more users over time. So that's my thought.
Hmm. Yeah, is I was looking at the article too as you were talking, and it's interesting because they mention, like I said, mention Google, um, and they in the article they say that Google has had monthly active users increase from 450 million in July to 650 million in October, which is like
Hmm.
two months, 3 months, depending on how you slice it, and that's a pretty big jump. Um, and yeah, it's interesting because I think with OpenAI, I feel like they were the first ones to kind of get really like an enterprise kind of vibe going.
Hmm.
Again, just from my own experience, but Google Workspace is in a lot of companies now. And so as Gemini gets better and better, it just seems like it'll be a natural fit to kind of slide right in there. Um,
Yeah. I think it's a good and a
yeah.
bad thing. Good thing that OpenAI is recognizing that they need to kind of refocus. A bad
Hmm.
thing, in my personal opinion, is if Google wins this AI race, Google has search, Google has maps, Google has YouTube, Google has Waymo, Google has AI.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I love that. I think I love the competition on the AI model space, but I don't love one company holding everything in that basket. So that's my personal opinion is I love Google. I think they're doing a great job and they have great models, but I don't know if I want them crushing so much that people can't catch up. And we're not at that spot, but I do have a slight fear about that.
Well, not even just that too, but I think, and I'm less knowledgeable in this area, just to be super clear, but I know that Google is really working on competing with NVIDIA on chips too, right? Like they have
Yeah.
their TPUs versus, NVIDIA's GPUs, and the progress seemed so strong in that area that
Yeah.
NVIDIA put out some weird statement about like,
Yeah.
oh, we see what they're doing, but like we're still the leader. And it was like one of those, everyone was clowning it because it's like, why would you even feel the need to say that if that was really how you
Yeah.
felt? And so yeah, they definitely, we haven't really talked about that, but like if their TPUs are significantly better, because ultimately, and this is where I go back to like Anthropic, I don't think Anthropic has a lot of staying power at that valuation, at least, is like they don't have the infrastructure, they don't have the chips, they don't have like these giant data center deals, right? Like it just,
Yeah.
to me, the players are so big now. That doesn't mean that you'll be successful. Like I don't know if Meta has really churned into something successful. We talked about all the crazy compensation packages a couple months ago.
Hmm.
I don't know if they've really made significant progress yet on that. So it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that the big players are going to by default do better than Anthropic. I think Anthropic has made a real solid product and carve out, but like you know, I, there's just so much more than just a smart model. Like there's again the
Hmm.
energy you need to run it. There's the chips you need to do it all, right? Um, so like yeah, but the Google, I think the real competition with Google is not from OpenAI as much as I think it's from, like we talked about. This is my conspiracy theory. I put my tinfoil hat on. It's Grok. It's SpaceX. It's Tesla. Like I think that's going to be the competition a little bit because Grok's pretty good. We don't talk about Grok a lot, but like in the LM arena, they're pretty good in a couple of different areas. And like I don't use it
Yeah.
much.
They're
But
definitely
like
not as enterprisey. I think that's the problem is
yeah,
OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, they've all built their enterprise arm and wield that pretty effectively, but Grok is a little bit of a Wild West, so to speak.
but the Grok is I saw it ranks best in search, which is interesting because you'd think Google. I think I could be wrong, but you'd think that Google would be the best in search. But
Yeah, I don't know what the search category exactly is
yeah,
checking, but yeah, it is a little bit interesting.
yeah. I mean, Google is third in that category from
I
LM
think it's
Arena.
search is like searching real-time information. So like
Right.
grounding is what they usually call it. So I guess Twitter does have a lot of data, and that's where it shines.
Yeah. So I think OpenAI, I still think OpenAI will be around, but I think I could see Grok coming in and kind of
It could.
swooping up. And just again, from like an overall ecosystem perspective, like it's going to be in the Teslas, and it might already be. I don't have a Tesla, but like, you're going to have a model in the Tesla. You're going to have the neural link in the brain chip if you do the brain chip thing. When you're going out to space in the SpaceX rocket, you're probably going to hear a Grok voice talking to you. Got the
Shoot.
robots, so like, yeah, I think, I think that's where it's going. So
A lot of
we'll
conspiracy
see.
theories. We're going to have a separate podcast where we just
And
ask Ben about his tinfoil hat.
yeah, and I'll say this and I'll shut up. Well, none of them have really ventured into hardware yet, which is
OpenAI
interesting.
will probably. I mean,
Supposedly,
we've
yeah,
seen
and like
articles.
there's Google Home, right? But like that's like
Yeah.
Alexa. But none of them have done robotics yet, except for
Okay. I have to
Optimus,
add
right?
one more topic since he brought it up.
All right.
We are close to time, but Apple's, I think, chief of AI just left the company
Mm-hmm.
sometime this week or
Yeah.
last week. So Apple is clearly behind on the AI game. I think they're like head of AI or someone pretty high up in the company. I don't know the exact details, just left. And I think
Mm-hmm.
they're replacing with somebody else. So hopefully Apple steps up to the plate.
Yeah, I was gonna say if they hadn't filled that position, you can give me a call. But I'm just kidding.
Next time.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, we could probably deep dive Meta a little bit some other day. Because
Yeah.
for those big headlines, it's always easy to say something in the news, but executing and delivering is a lot harder.
Yeah. I haven't heard much from
So
them, sadly.
yeah, yeah. But all right, let's wrap it up there. Let's do some bookmarks then, real fast. 30-second bookmarks. You go
Okay.
first.
All right, so my bookmark is a zoom tool that's built into Mac OS. So I've needed this myself, but essentially, if you've seen screenshots where it's a screenshot image and then one part of the UI essentially has like a magnifying glass where it's blown up a bit. I guess, as I learned today, that this is a built-in feature in the preview app on Mac OS. So there's a toolbar that you can activate. You can click on this magnifying glass. You can hover over the UI, and it'll show you a kind of blown-up view of the area that you're looking at. So pretty cool. Honestly, might use this for my App Store screenshots because oftentimes you show an like an iPhone screenshot, then you zoom in on one element of the text or one element of the page. So we'll probably be using this. Pretty cool feature. Thanks, Julian, for shouting that out.
Cool. Okay, my bookmark is I've teased it a little bit with Nano Banana Talk, and it is from the Boring Marketer, who does a lot of like really cool AI marketing type stuff, obviously. But he actually reposted someone who has built a Claude AI skill that takes any input and converts it into different kinds of art with Nano Banana Pro,
Hmm.
like on the model. And they showed the pictures that the person has done, and they look really cool. Like it looks almost like a medical journal, or and it has like a headline and a subtitle, and then it has like an image. So they look really cool. Has graphs and stuff like that. So definitely want to check it out just for my own use cases too, because again we talked about like generating content and being, I'm not a creative, I don't think you'd call
Mm-hmm.
yourself a creative, so like that's the appeal for something like Nano Banana for us. And so seeing this person Daniel Mealsler put this out there is pretty cool, so I'm gonna check it out.
So would you recommend a follow for the Boring Marketer Twitter account?
Yeah, yeah. I think if you've probably heard of Greg Eisenberg, he's pretty big in
Mm-hmm.
that AI space. The Boring Marketer, I found out about the Boring Marketer through Greg, and I think Greg had him on the podcast at one point.
Okay.
They're talking about something else. It wasn't about this. It was gosh, I can't remember what it was about. It was some marketing thing, obviously, but so I saw him through that, and yeah, the Boring Marketer puts out a lot of good content too about like specific AI stuff with marketing, of course.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the name. So, but yeah, no, he's a good follow for sure.
Nice. Cool. Well, we'll wrap it at this. We talked about so much this episode. But again, my takeaway for all those listening out there is Opus 4.5, game changer model. Go download and use Claude Code. And secondly, a huge shout out to Michael B. He's a listener of the podcast, reached out to me on LinkedIn, said he loved the podcast. Appreciate it, Michael. We met at Laracon. Really awesome guy. So hopefully you're doing well.
Nice, nice. Appreciate anyone listening for sure. Give us a review. Tell us how you like it. And yeah, as always, I had a good time, Brad. We'll get it posted. Till next time.
Sounds good. See
All
ya.
right. See ya. Thank you for listening to the Breakeven Brothers podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave us a 5-star review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you may be listening from. Also, be sure to subscribe to our show and YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. Thanks, and take care. All views and opinions by Bradley and Bennett are solely their own and unaffiliated with any external parties.